Are you familiar with the word grit? Years ago, after I first read Angela Duckworth's book titled Grit, I fell in love with the word so much that I created a t-shirt just for it. Before we get into the definition of grit, let me introduce you to Angela Duckworth. Duckworth completed her BA in neurobiology from Harvard, her MSc in neuroscience at Oxford, and then her PhD at UPenn. In 2012, she won the MacArthur Fellowship, otherwise known as the Genius Grant. And just to let you know how prestigious this award is, you don't apply for it, you don't ask colleagues to nominate you. Instead, a secret committee decides what you're doing is important and creative work. She is also a professor of psychology at UPenn. Yes, Duckworth is big time. Now that we all feel bad about ourselves, let's dive into this life-changing book that's been on my radar for years. Right off the bat, Duckworth explains to us what grit means. It's the combination of passion and perseverance for long-term goals. She found that high achievers, those that went on to become super successful, have certain traits in common. One of Duckworth's theories of achievements comes down to two simple equations. Talent times effort equals skill, and effort times skill equals achievement. Notice how effort is calculated twice. So how can we grow grit from the inside? We can break down grit into four concepts: interest, practice, purpose, and hope. These are malleable. You can learn to deepen your interests. You can start a habit of discipline. You can find within yourself purpose, and you can cultivate hope. So let's start with interest. We've all heard the phrase, follow your passion. Is there any merit to it? Yes. Want to be more satisfied at work? Find something that fits your interests. This leads to a happier life. You'll perform better at work because you actually love what you're doing. In a 2014 Gallup poll, 2/3 of all adults said they are not engaged at work, and worldwide, that number drops to 13%. Are you one of the lucky few who loves what they are doing? Duckworth advises to match your job to what captures your attention and your imagination. Don't have a passion? Foster one. Shockingly, most grit stories begin with a person who has spent years exploring different interests until they finally settle down into one. When it comes to a vocation, it can take decades to find your passion. As stated, passion for your work is a little bit of discovery, followed by a lot of development, and then a lifetime of deepening. So parents, let your child go through the discovery process. Before hard work comes play. That means letting kids make their own choices about what they'd like to develop, from an interest to a passion, provide encouragement and freedom. In the discovery stage, ask yourself questions like, what do I like to think about? Or what do I really care about? Or how do I enjoy spending my time? Then go out to the world and do something. Experiment, try, act. Next, we move on to development or practice. Whoa, horsey. This is where we slow down and take our time. It's through years of practice that your knowledge and expertise will grow, along with your confidence and your curiosity. We're talking not a few hours, but thousands and thousands of hours of practice over years and years. Now we come to those key words, deliberate practice. While we can all practice swimming for hours on end, that won't make us the next Michael Phelps. How do people become experts at something? First, they set a stretch goal, striving to improve a specific weakness. They focus and put all their efforts into reaching that stretch goal. Then, as soon as possible, they seek feedback through a coach or a mentor. They hear what they are doing wrong and they try to fix those parts. After feedback, they put in the reps until they've mastered their skills. Until what was once a struggle before it is now fluent and flawless. Beautiful, right? What's after mastering a stretch goal? You start all over again with a new stretch goal. Because deliberate practice is so effortful, when you're working at your absolute limit with intense concentration, even world-class performers at the peak of their careers can only perform 1 hour of deliberate practice a day before needing a break, or in total, 3 to 5 hours of deliberate practice a day. Let's move on to a topic I love to discuss, and that's called flow. Pioneered by, name here, sorry I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, a psychologist who devoted his career to studying experts. His gift to psychology is that simple word, flow. This is a state of complete concentration that leads to a euphoric state where time doesn't exist and you're in the zone. It feels effortless and joyous. Now we move on to purpose. Let's define purpose as the intention to contribute to the well-being of others. So to summarize, we've gone through 3 distinct periods of development. The early years are for interest, middle years for practice, and now in the later years comes purpose. This is where you think outside of your self-interest to the betterment of others. It's about connecting with and helping others. It's about benefiting other people. Do you have a job, a career, or a calling? Angela Duckworth's own top-level goal is to use psychological science to help kids thrive. What's yours? Hope. Hope is defined as how our efforts can improve the future. I will make tomorrow better. Here we take a look at the life of an optimist versus a pessimist. An optimist is just as likely to experience unwelcome events, but they just disagree in their response. An optimist searches for temporary causes and suffering, whereas a pessimist assumes permanent damage. Pessimists turn minor problems into major catastrophes. The optimistic person encounters a setback or failure and they step back. They analyze it and they learn from it. If you think you may be an extreme pessimist, Duckworth advises that you find a cognitive behavioral therapist. I've had mine for over 20 years and he's helped me unpack a lot of stuff. One of my biggest fears is wasting people's time when they're watching my videos. I suffer from imposter syndrome too. I say to myself, who is she to teach us this? My therapist helps me realize that this destructive self-talk is all in my head. We even work through the dialogue by role-playing different scenarios. Parenting. Now we've come to my favorite part. How does grit apply to parenting? Here's a chart we should all review. The goal is to get to the right corner quadrant, wise parenting. This is where you are demanding or where you have high expectations, but you are supportive. It's commonly misunderstood that a kid needs tough love, like you have to be either supportive or demanding. In actuality, you can strike a careful balance between affection and respect and firm expectations. Now here's a Dr. Shefali-esque moment. We need to work on our own grittiness because our children emulate us. If we want to bring forth grit in your child, first ask how much passion and perseverance you have in your own life goals. Now that's some deep shit. What are some actionable ways we can instill grit? Duckworth suggests extracurricular activities, one ideally where they're doing hard things that interest them. When kids practice piano or play tennis, they are both challenging themselves and having fun. A win-win. Interesting fact, there is no other experience in their lives that provides a combination of challenge and motivation. How do extracurricular activities perform in other areas of their life? They help kids get better grades, kids have higher self-esteem, and they get into less trouble. Activities can include everything from chess club to a school play, musical instruments, or sports. Anything structured, skill-focused, and adult-guided. When your kids get into high school, it's important that they stick to 1 or ideally 2 activities for at least 2 years. Called follow-through, it's about purposeful, continuous commitment to activities in high school. Not only do they have to stick to 2 different extracurricular activities for several years, they need to advance significantly in some way, like make it to swim team captain, win MVP in volleyball, or become editor of the school newspaper. So what's the benefit? For those with follow-through, those kids are predicted to graduate from college with academic honors. Overall, I thought this was a great, motivating book for anyone trying to become exceptional at something. Remember, it takes time and lots of practice. This book is great for parents, teachers, coaches, and even CEOs. Grit is such a simple yet impactful word. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to watch Duckworth's talk on grit at 10. Also, if you love books about how to parent better, check out my review of Mindset. So long!